live, but it looks like I am live. So, why am I live streaming to YouTube randomly? Because I really wanted to live stream into my Facebook group to answer a question that came up yesterday, but Facebook doesn't allow for live streaming into groups anymore. So here I am on YouTube doing it, and then I will be copying over the link to my Facebook group. So thank you for joining me on my live stream for anyone that may be catching it. What I wanted to talk about today was a question that someone asked in the group. Not going to read out their name, don't you worry, but I'm going to read out the question and then I'm going to tell you my opinion. So the question goes like this. It's in relation to a Facebook, a group challenge that I did a while back of helping people to show up on camera, like a visibility challenge. So the question goes like this. Ever since you encouraged us to get visible and start making videos without being too precious about it, I've been trying to put myself out there, especially ahead of my future event that she's got coming up, to encourage people to come out and connect with me. However, I am aware that my videos come across as a bit low energy. I do have a cold, but still. My husband is encouraging me to be higher energy in my videos, but it doesn't feel natural or like me. What are your thoughts? And then a few wonderful people from the group weighed in with their opinions, and there was all different kinds of good advice out there, but here was the debate. The debate was like, if your brand isn't necessarily high energy, you're not dancing in the kitchen while you're making your morning shake kind of person. If the thing that you are doing is a bit more kind of professional or corporate or something like that, where you have a certain vibe that you want to be putting across, then you don't want to be coming across as something that you're not, basically. So one of the pieces of advice was to edit the videos, which I definitely agree. It's worth editing if you're putting something out as a reel. And then there was another response that said it needs to feel more intimate. Let's just see. Yeah, it needs to feel intimate, but it also needs to feel authentic. So I found this discussion really interesting, and it made me think about the PDF that I put together, which is called Fearless on Camera, and I'm going to put the information for that in the description. It's a guide, it's a step-by-step guide to managing nerves and mastering video with confidence. Because it's something that just comes up so much. Business owners that want to grow their presence online by using video, but they're either so fearful they don't get going, or they do get going, they look back at it and they think, oh, that's just fallen flat. So in this guide, I break down everything that you need to know about the basics of video making. And I'm not talking about editing and all that kind of thing. I'm talking more about, just some easy tips, and also diving into the psychology behind what has made you video phobic that you probably haven't thought about. So I'm going to give you like a quick summary. Obviously, don't want to give you everything because I'd love for you to download it. But to start with, just to reinforce how important video is, viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video versus 10% when they're reading it in a text, which is a really strong point for making videos. And I mean, I could throw all kinds of interesting stats at you, but one that I thought was really powerful is that videos are processed 60,000 times faster than text by the human brain. This means that videos are more easily understood and remembered than text. and it makes them a much more effective way to communicate with your audience. And I don't do videos anywhere near enough. So anyway, let's get down to business in terms of answering this question. The first thing that I think that you need to be aware of is that there is this disconnect going on between how we perceive ourselves in our heads and how we see ourselves when we appear on video. And I'm smirking because the other day I did a little selfie shoot on my phone, and I was kind of like doing this smile that to me seemed kind of like pensive, slightly endearing kind of look. And when I look back at my phone at the picture I'd taken, I just looked like resting bitch face. It was really quite funny. So it's definitely like in our heads, the expression that we think we're making, and then we see ourselves on video. Because we're used to looking at ourselves in a mirror. And when we look at a mirror, we see a reversed image of ourselves, and the left side's on the right, the right side's on the left. And when we see ourselves on video, it can be quite jarring. It's just not what we're used to seeing. And also video captures everything. When you look in a mirror, you're controlling your facial expressions, but when you're on video, and especially when YouTube is giving you like what are they called, the little thumbnails to choose from for the cover for your video, and you're like, like there are so many faces that we make while we're talking. We don't realize because we're not looking at ourselves all the time. So that can be really disconcerting. Videos can also sometimes be unflattering depending on the angle of the camera, where you've put your phone, the lighting, whether you're sitting or standing, or different kinds of things. There's also this fear, like you don't want people to judge you. The amount of people that say to me, who am I to turn up on video? Who do I think I am? Like, am I some kind of influencer? No, you're not. You are making an attempt, a valiant attempt to start getting more visibility for your business. Advertising your business is 100% valid. And when you put yourself out on video, you worry about being criticized, or it flops, or people don't respond to it. It also feels like things could go wrong. I could do it wrong. I could forget things. All the things, all the worry that goes around your head. I think it doesn't help when it comes to feeling relaxed on video. So the thing that I talk about in my handbook is really like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, getting curious about the fears and all the script that's running in your head, and starting to pay attention to it. So there's a lot more background, a lot more psychology that goes into it in my guide, but I'm going to give you some of the I go through 20 tips in my guide, and today I'm not going to be covering all the 20 tips, but there are some that I felt really related to this post. So one of the things that I think is really important to do is to have a rough outline of what it is that you want to say. Like at the moment, I have my guide up on my screen, so I'm able to see like what are the points that I want to put across. But if you don't, you don't have something like that on screen, you're going to write down a few bullet points of what it is that you want to remember to say, how you're going to open, you've got 3 points you want to put across, and how you're going to close. And that's really important. Very often we forget that we have to close, we have to finish, we have to figure out how we're going to say goodbye. Excuse me. And to absolutely not write out a script, because if you're going to like read a script, you're just going to sound robot-like. Then another thing that I think is really important to put across is smiling more often than you usually would. Very often when you see a video that you like and it feels warm to you, you realize that the person is either smiling all the way through, or when they end at the end of the sentences, there's a smile. It increases your own energy. It makes you feel lighter. It makes you feel like you're enjoying yourself. Then you start to actually enjoy yourself. It's totally contagious, and it can, prompt your viewers to smile back as well. So, and the smiling, I think, helps to get rid of that, the nerves, or to a certain extent to bring down the nervousness and the anxiety, and then you start to really enjoy what you're doing. Now, so another thing that I wanted to cover was, you know, when you're reading your notes, they're on your screen. That's very nice. So you've read your bullet point, and let's say it's, you know, here, but then you have to remember to come back to the lens, to not be looking at yourself on the screen all the time, because then you're not making eye contact. And we all know how important eye contact is. So it takes some practice and getting used to, but to remember as much as you can to be making eye contact with the lens rather than looking at yourself on the screen. And if you're using a post-it note, it's really useful to put the post-it note as close to the camera lens as possible. Something that I often forget to do is to speak clearly and slow down your speech. I know that sounds counterintuitive because we're all watching these videos that are very often on like 1.5 speed. But when you slow down your speech, you're giving yourself time to bring in the thoughts, and it allows you to emphasize the important points, but not to slow it down too much that you sound like you're bored. So that's something to practice as well. Something that I do constantly is I say so when I'm giving you this advice, I'm saying try, if you can, instead of the if you realize that you've lost a word or that you're not quite sure what's coming next, you can just pause and let the words come in. Especially if you're not doing a live video, then for sure you can pause and then you can edit out the pause afterwards. It's quite difficult to edit out the ums because they tend to come very close to the actual sentence itself. There you go. And again, I can't help pause. So I have 2 more things that I want to talk about. One is, if you're doing a video just off the cuff, then fine. Like however it is that you're dressed, doesn't matter too much as long as you've got some kind of clothing on. But if you're going to be recording a video like for a course or something like that, you're going to see over and over again, I really would recommend putting on something that you really like, that you'd really like to look at. And also it makes you feel more professional. Before I started this video, I put makeup on because I want to be able to look at this video and look back at myself and say, oh my goodness, why did she not put makeup on? And that's not true for everyone. It's just for me. I'm used to seeing makeup on my face every day. Now, I've saved my favorite tip for last, which is, if you want to feel high energy, you want your enthusiasm and passion to come across without you having to pretend to be some extroverted influencer, TikTok dancer type person. God, I'm showing my age. So I think that one way that we do this, one way that we can connect with our audience, is not being afraid to show your facial expressions, not being afraid to show people how you use your hands when you are speaking. I always remember watching a video. It's actually someone else was watching a video and it was on the airplane and I was looking over his shoulder. But I was so fascinated by it. I really wanted to know who this man was. Really wanted to tap this guy on the shoulder and say, excuse me, who is that you're watching? Because it was so interesting watching him. He was like doing all these interesting moves with his hand, like when he was showing that something is, you know, I don't know what it was he was saying. Maybe, you know, the world is your oyster. He was opening up his hands like this. And then when he was talking about different levels of things, I guess, he was doing this with his hands. And it was such a natural part of how he spoke. And it was so captivating. Non-verbal cues play a really important part in our communication, and they totally complement your spoken words and help you add meaning to your message. And I did say that was the last one, but the thing that I think is really, really important to remember is that you don't need to strive to be anyone other than who you are. I'm definitely not telling you to change yourself to make people like you more. It's just about being more real as if you were talking to someone on a FaceTime call or something, you know, being playful, embracing your flaws, showing us the unfiltered version of you. You can laugh at yourself when you lose your train of thought or say too many times or get tongue-tied, all of those things. You have to be able to laugh at yourself, and your target audience will connect to that authenticity. They will feel it and they will love you for it. So have fun playing around with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to nail everything every single time. Don't worry if you mumble or drop your phone while you're talking. It all adds to the charm. We are human beings, not robots, not robots. So, okay, I have no idea how long I've been talking, but it feels like a very long time. So I am going to say goodbye and thank you for watching. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are. So drop me a comment and I hope to do this again soon. Bye for now.